Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Beavercreek City Council. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Curran?
Here.
Councilmember Literal? Here. Councilmember Rushing?
Here.
Councilmember Upton?
Here.
Councilmember Van? Vice Mayor Garcia?
Here.
Mayor Stone?
Here. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to excuse Councilmember Van. Second.
I have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Van. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I will turn the floor over to Councilmember Rushing, please.
Thank you, Mayor Stone. Will we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would, please remain standing for a moment of silence to reflect on the Memorial Day tornado. And to also realize there is a silver lining, and that is our community coming together, neighbors alike, from first responders, police, fire, our public works department, and just neighbors coming together to help one another in time of need. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have an agenda before us this evening. Any changes?
Seeing none, sir, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Approval of minutes. First is the May 13th, 2019 regular scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, I believe, to approve the minutes as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Motion still carries. All right. Mr. Landrum, the next item I think is yours, and you're going to give us an update on the tornado efforts.
Yes, it's been, 2 weeks tomorrow since our last meeting, but that was immediately following that. So I thought a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks immediately following the tornado. So just to give a few brief updates, I'm not going to go long here. But after the May 27th tornado, I just wanted to share this as a picture of, by Michael Baum that was out of Spicer Heights. This was on his actual Ring doorbell video. And you watch the video, it is a minute long or something like that, but you would never see this because this was less than 1/10 of a second of a flash of lightning that, of course, reveals the tornado. So, again, that was probably in Spicer Heights looking west. So that really captures it. Just a couple aerial views. I won't stay on here. I published these on our Facebook page today. These were from, I think, the weather, not the Weather Channel, the Weather Service that provided a couple of these photos. And that's the top road there is Rushton, just to give you an idea of the location back in the Greenview Acres plat. And there's Spicer Heights, so the road on the right is Grange Hall, and this is looking south. So there's the apartments, and just gives you an idea. Of course, when you've seen this up front and personal, like most of us have by walking the neighborhoods, but the bird's eye view really is telling as well. So what's just bring you up to date. Literally today, but pretty much the entire time since we've gotten organized after the tornado happened. But just as an example, today we had 57 trucks in Beavercreek and the surrounding communities with ODOT working the city of Beavercreek today. So not all of them are pictured, but I try to put up a few of them. And a big thank you from all of us, council, mayor, myself. You just have to know and realize that City of Beavercreek only has 16 trucks to start with. That's all we have. So the rest of these trucks, of the 57 are other communities and ODOT. So I had to put the biggest one there, Delhi Township. I was formerly, before here, the township administrator in Delhi, and they traveled nearly 70 miles today to come and help us out, all the way down there by the river, west side of Cincinnati. So thank you to them. But from Troy to all of Southwest Ohio really helped out, a lot of townships and stuff. But we're going to have a list, and hopefully later on, we're working on a way for council and all of us to acknowledge and thank these communities, because they have been just unbelievable. We continue to have 10 Bunyan, that's our city contractor, trucks working. Those trucks are very easy identifiable. They're huge, large with a crane on the back. I thought I'd just give everybody a quick while I talk about this, but you know, they make quick work of it, where, you know, our public work guys, they're doing their best, but they don't have the right exact equipment made to do this as Bunyan does. This is all they do. They specialize in natural disasters and emergencies as well. So they can make pretty quick work out of it. But we have 10 of those trucks on the road. We are beginning to see that progress is being made in the materials that aren't coming out as fast once we take them. I mean, that first week or two, as soon as our guys would clear a road, they'd look back. You know, everybody likes to look back and look back to see what you have accomplished, but they'd look back and they couldn't have tell that they picked up anything, because then it came from the backyard and the side yards and everywhere else. But now we are beginning to see some progress made, but however, there are still lots of work to be done. We anticipate our volunteer communities to stay out about the same size. We've been running anywhere from 50 to 60 trucks through the end of this week, with a potential reduction coming next week depending on the workloads in their communities. Some of them have said, literally have said, we're not leaving till it's done. And it's just like, wow. We continue to haul trees and brush, and residents and volunteer groups are doing a great job at keeping the materials separate. That's one thing when we hit the ground, you know, construction debris and yard debris, totally separate, and they're doing a great job at doing that. The word got out early and got out quick, so that really helps us. We have been working with Greene County Environmental Services and the township to manage the pile. Again, this is, you have to see this. This is like at Environmental Services. And the pile keeps going on, and you notice how tall it gets. And when you see the big tractor at the end, you know how big those tractors are, so that gives you an idea of how big that pile is. So there's a little wee tractor, and you know that thing is a huge tractor. So yeah, it gives you an idea. So one of the questions we got is we've also been hauling to Fairborn, CMEX Reserve there, and we said, why are you hauling to Fairborn and Xenia? And basically, I wanted to clarify that because basically, unless we had a pre-established private contract agreement with a landowner, and it was in concrete, it's got to be a really kind of a FEMA-approved kind of an arrangement. But unless you already had that in place, to receive FEMA reimbursement, we must use private government property, and it cannot be in a floodplain. So Rotary Park, when the hurricane hit us years back, we almost didn't get reimbursement because that was used, and we are not going to go down that path again because of floodplain. So we just do not have an available location. So the county has really stepped up and allowed us to, the 2 sites that we're using, potential third we're trying not to. EPA has already visited and reviewed both sites, so homeowners that are in those areas that are worried about this or that, EPA is they're highly regulatory, so they've been on it as well, and are very impressed with the job that's being done. Very impressed with Bunyan on how they're organizing the piles. FEMA was in Beavercreek on Wednesday and Thursday of last week. Governor DeWine did today requested federal emergency for individual funding for uninsured and grossly underinsured properties. So we'll see now the ball has been passed, and we'll wait for the response. Now, the county and state EMA will begin reviewing public assistance phase this week. And what I mean public assistance, I immediately think public assistance is the individual, but the public assistance is basically the government assistance for us to be able to seek reimbursement, and it be declared an emergency on our behalf to get funding help as well. In hope that would be the case, we already have released last week, an RFP was released last week and due this Wednesday in anticipation of FEMA approval. So although we already happen to have a contractor that is probably top 5 in the country on FEMA and on emergencies, that was great. We had them under contract. It's just unbelievable that we had that. If we go FEMA gets approved, per FEMA regulations, we do have to bid out and have a bid process and select an appropriate bid at that point in time to get reimbursement. So we'll have to go through that process. So we've already, again, like I said, released an RFP, and the bids are to be opened on Wednesday afternoon. Public Services has continued to work 12-hour days since the storm hit, and we'll work through schedule through this Saturday, when we'll give the day off on Sunday, Father's Day. So Father's Day will be a day of not working. We will reassess the progress at the end of this week and determine our schedule moving forward. Again, a lot of that's going to depend on the number of communities that are able to continue to help. Plus, the city's 27 square miles, and this impacted, including the township, over 14 square miles. But with us being, all the way south, all the way east and west, we're a large city, we do have other things we cannot ignore. So we're going to have to, although other communities have already began to help mow our medians, have scheduled to help mow certain other right-of-ways and different things like that. We have already, catering's already doing some things for us, and so we appreciate that very much. But we do have to evaluate our schedule moving forward. Fire Department Auxiliary, I did want to mention that, and Mary, I know you were up there this weekend for talking with them. They had 30 to 40 volunteers each day, but they only had 12 requests. So they had more volunteers than they had requests. They will be evaluating for this weekend to see if they can get some more requests, and they'll evaluate whether or not they run one day, and maybe they'll just do a Saturday if they can get enough requests for people. And then basically to end it for tonight, I know we'll have much more discussions in detail on other issues as we find out, especially with state FEMA reimbursements and things of that nature. But on behalf of the staff, we'd like to thank City Council and the residents, businesses, our contractors, volunteers, and all the communities and agencies for all their support. It's when we were out that one Saturday walking the neighborhoods, passing out stuff, the chamber was awesome, helping us organize and putting stuff on their website. But when we were out walking, one of the electrical companies from Indiana plainly said to me, and the person I was with said, this is all we do, is this type of work, emergency stuff. And he said, I've never seen another community have this much volunteerism, and he was just very impressed with how Beavercreek came together. And that pretty much really says it all. I know when I walked in the neighborhoods that day, I was hugged on, cried on, just thanked, and, just saw people wanting and needing to talk. There's going to be a lot of that. People were in shock. So if anybody ever wants to talk about that, lend them an ear. Just listen. I don't think you necessarily have to have any kind of degree just to listen in that aspect. But we appreciate all the support, and especially from the community and all the other communities surrounding. And we got a long way to go. I don't want to make anybody feel like we're going to wrap it up this week. That's just not the case. The amount of debris, yard organic debris is still big, but we're starting to make some dents, and that's encouraging. And that's all I have.
Very good. It is going to be a long process. Even when the city's back to normal, they won't be back to normal for the people that were in the path. That's gonna be a very long process, but, and any word you can get out to let the residents know that there's volunteers that want to help. People are proud, they don't come and say, oh, can I get help? They just don't do it. We've had people go in and they say, well, no, I don't need the help. The guy down the street, he needs it a lot more than me. But yet they need the help just like everybody else.
I
So
heard
spread the word.
I heard the auxiliary was trying to canvass the area, trying to literally drum up people that needed help.
Sure.
Oh, and by the way, then, you know, any other further updates, it was a very useful tool. And I know that a lot of people during that time didn't have electric, didn't have cell phone towers for a little while. But our Facebook page has been our main source. The City of Beavercreek Facebook page has been the main source of information that I've been keeping updated. So please check back there. That's where we'll definitely keep that updated and for information.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, anybody, first questions? Anybody want to have additional comments they want to make? All right, we'll move on. We have a public hearing on, it's about 2019 Thoroughfare Plan.
This is a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing the comprehensive revisions to the Thoroughfare Plan.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We're here this evening presenting a proposed ordinance to update the 2012 Thoroughfare Plan, which encompasses both the bikeway plan and a motorized transportation plan. The intent of these thoroughfare plans is to, in ours in particular, we want to look comprehensively at what plans we have out there in terms of roadway improvements, what plans the Regional Planning Commission, who's in charge of the federal grants, that we have been successful in getting over the last several years, and see if there's any areas where those plans don't mesh up or areas of gaps that need to be filled so that we can propose to add more roadways onto their long-range plan, because to get federal funding for projects such as like Dayton Xenia or any of the widening projects that we get, you need to be on that long-range plan. So as council's aware, this has been a process that we started last summer, working with the Bikeway Advisory Committee and Planning Commission and Engineering Department. And it culminated in last month. We were here in front of City Council at a work session. So tonight we're proposing that ordinance, or at least proposing to move it on to the second reading. The first thing we did is look at a inventory of the roadways that we have, and based on all the information that we have over 320 miles of lane miles of roadways in the city, and a majority of those are actually the neighborhood roads, but we do have significant expressways and freeways with 675 and 35, as well as many principal arterials, the North Fairfield Road and the 835 and the like. We also looked at our non-motorized transportation facilities, and we break them down as side paths, on-street facilities, signed neighborhood connectors, and sidewalks, whereas a sidewalk or a side path is any sidewalk that's over 8 feet. And looking at all that, we have over 150 miles of the non-motorized facilities in the city. Get through that, there we go. And another thing we looked at is where we anticipate from the planning department, and based on vacant land and based on past trends of the amount of development we've seen year to year, what are we looking at, where are we looking at? So this map shows, in yellow where we anticipate the residential, single-family residential or multifamily residential, and we anticipate through 2040 that we'll have 800 to 1,000 more units of residential just based on historic trends. And the same goes with the red and the retail, both neighborhood and regional retail, 1.5 million to almost 2 million square feet of retail. 1.25 million to almost over 1.5 million square feet of office, and the range for research and development is kind of hard to pin down, just because one year you'll get a large development and the other years you'll get nothing. So that range was, we anticipate between 270,000 and 1 million square feet over the next 20 years. So we combined our 5-year capital improvements plan with the MVRPC TIP, which is their short-range plan, which is money they've already allocated, along with their long-range plan, and overlaid that into a map. And you can see a good majority of our roads are covered under a culmination of those maps. But when you overlay the anticipated development, you can see there are some gaps, west of Grange Hall on Kemp and east on Grange Hall. And so the roads I've highlighted in red here are what we were proposing to add to the long-range plan. And we plan on doing that over the next several cycles, depending on what MBRPC accepts in terms of the amount of roads. If we can put them all on in the first round, or we have to, what we're going to have to prioritize. But the roads in red here are what we're proposing and are in the thoroughfare plan shown to add to the long-range plan. And then also in conjunction with that, there are several smaller roadway connectors shown in the plan, and that's just, those would be projects that we would include with developments on a smaller scale. So it's not a long 3-mile stretch of Dayton Xenia Road or Kemp or anything like that. But if we get development such as up near Rock Drive and North Fairfield, or any of the more local, like Cedar Brook Flower Farm residential development that came through recently, the thing that we had to stand on in order to get the developer to put that road through the development was that it's in fact in the thoroughfare plan. So that was a major, I guess, foundation of the basis for why we were able to get them to pay for that and do that. So we want to continue that. So there are several connectors on the proposed thoroughfare plan. We also looked at proposed non-motorized transportation facilities, and those facilities, along with the roadway connectors, we're not by any means with this thoroughfare plan proposing to allocate money to it. These are all unfunded proposals, just with future development. So there's several significant planned facilities, such as almost 70 miles of on-street facilities, and that could be sharrows, that could be widened berms on the side of the road, that could be dedicated bike lanes, any of that. We also show over 17 miles of sidewalks and side paths, and then the 17 plus miles of signed neighborhood connectors. All in all, we're proposing to add over 10 miles to the long-range plan and almost 8 miles of future connected. Again, this is largely unfunded, wholly unfunded, really. I mean, nothing in here is specifically calling for any money, but this gives us a leg to stand on in the future when we bring through development projects. Planning Commission recommends approval. There's a resolution of support from them included with your packet. Planning staff does recommend approval and be happy to answer questions following the public hearing.
Thanks, Randy. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to address council on this ordinance? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. We'll move on to council input. Councilmember Curran, do you have any input?
No, I think it's well thought out and shows where we need to be over the next several years.
Okay. Councilmember Upton.
Yes, one quick question for staff. I'm pretty sure I know the answer because looking at the maps, it leads to it. But we take into consideration some of the planned growth in our neighboring communities, such as Township, Fairborn, Riverside.
Yeah, I mean, we do show some expansion on Beaver Valley Road, all the way out to our city limits, especially on Dayton Xenia Road, and particularly with Indian Ripple Road, because there's those large swaths of land out to the east, wanting to connect to where we anticipate research and development will go on Research Park, as well as trying to get to 675. So yeah, Indian Ripple Road is a major component. Indian Ripple and South Fairfield Road, major component we want to add to the thoroughfare plan.
Perfect, thanks. Appreciate the forethought to include that.
Councilmember Rush.
I just want to thank staff, also to reiterate to the public, how large Beavercreek is. We're over 27 square miles, as the manager said, and we have over 320 road miles. So as we think about the future, Beavercreek, save Dayton, besides Dayton, is the largest community in this region. Our infrastructure is very vital, but also I think sometimes residents take advantage of it. We've been growing commercially, residentially, but there will come a time where, our needs could outweigh the resources that we have, and that's evident by looking at this map and looking at the resources we have. So this plan, I congratulate staff for developing it and to put the forethought into how we grow, but also to the citizens watching. And please know that we are the largest suburb of Dayton, and our infrastructure will need that need. We're no longer, a small town. We are a player in the state, so we need to look to that in the future. So thank you to staff.
Councilmember Literal.
Well, I'd like to just reiterate to the community, we have one of the best staffs, and the cooperation and coordination you do with Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission is vital. Councilmember Upton's on that, and that is one of the best opportunities cities and township have, because they find out they have those federal dollars that they can access and that we can coordinate with. And Beavercreek, thanks to staff and having representation on that committee, we've been able to tack away a little bit at some of our infrastructure issues. We're not there, and again, with the resources that we have, the work that you all do on these federal dollars and the grants, it's the reason Beavercreek's still moving forward, because without it, we would not be. So just to follow up with that, and you are absolutely right. Former council member told me one time, we are no longer a bedroom community, we are a destination community. So, and those resources are necessary to catapult us into the future, as well as the Indian Ripple and the research area. Those will be areas that are going to be developed in the next few years. So thank you to everyone.
All right. Vice Mayor Garcia.
Thank you. I would just echo everyone's gratitude and appreciation, and I don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay, very good. And yeah, everybody is aware that this is something that staff does an excellent job with. But it's something that we have to have. We don't get the grants and we don't get the federal and state money if we not already have a plan in place to be able to utilize it. So it's very, very important. It's not just something that's drawn up on a piece of paper and sits on a shelf. It's something that means a lot in the region. So thanks very much. All right, do you have to read anything else in this ordinance? All right. This is the first reading. Do I have a motion to move this ordinance 19-11 onto the second and third?
I'd like to make a motion to move to the second and third.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move ordinance 19-11 onto the second and third reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next, ordinance resolutions and PUDs. Ordinance 19-04.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to untable 1904.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to untable ordinance 19-04. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This is a third reading of an ordinance determining to proceed with the acquisition, construction, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio, in cooperation with the Beavercreek Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Now, this is the third reading, so we've already had a public hearing. Mr. McHugh, is there something that you want to add at this stage, or is it the next?
No, I can add this one, Mayor and Council. What has occurred is that initially there was an estimate of the cost of the improvements, which was about $6.2 million. These are energy improvements to the building. Those costs have now been defined to be just under 5.9. So those numbers have been and are amended in here. The other thing that has occurred also is that at one point it was going to be annual assessments. They're now going to be semi-annual, and all of this has the effect of going from about $125,000 in semi-annual payments down to about $117 because as the amount's gone down. So other than that, it's the same legislation you've seen.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to replace this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, I move to replace the ordinance with the updated ordinance. Second.
I have a motion and a second to replace the updated replace the existing ordinance with the updated ordinance. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now, this ordinance was originally sponsored by Councilmember Literal, so, Councilmember, any further comments?
No, thank you.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 19-04
As
As
an
amended.
emergency,
as an emergency,
as provided for. Thank you.
as replaced and as an emergency.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 19-04 as amended as an emergency. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Literal,
Yes.
Councilmember Rushing.
Yes.
Councilmember Upton.
Yes.
Councilmember Van.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Curran.
Yes.
Mayor Stone.
Yes. Thank you. Next is ordinance 19-05.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to untable 1905.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to untable motion, or ordinance 19-05. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, any further change on this one?
Just
Gordon?
again, Mayor and Council, the numbers
Just the numbers.
have changed.
Just a point where we need to read the summary, have the clerk read the summary.
Yeah.
Would you like to do that?
Sure.
Please do.
This is a third reading of an ordinance levying special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio, in cooperation with the Beavercreek Energy Special Improvement District, authorizing and improving an energy project cooperative agreement by and among the city of Beavercreek, Ohio, the Beavercreek Energy Special Improvement District, Green Innkeepers LLC, and Pace Equity LLC, providing for the financing of those public improvements, authorizing and improving a special assessment agreement by and between the city of Beavercreek, Ohio, the county treasurer of Greene County, Ohio, Pace Equity LLC, the Beavercreek Energy Special Improvement District, and Pace Equity LLC regarding those assessments and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to,
I would move to replace the ordinance with the updated number and semi-annual assessments.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to replace the ordinance 1905 with updated ordinance 1905-05. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. This ordinance was also sponsored by Councilmember Literal.
It is mine.
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I have a typo.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no further comment. I move for approval of ordinance 19-05
Second?
As an emergency.
as an emergency, as replaced, as amended.
Still
Correct.
second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 19-05 as amended and as an emergency. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rushing.
Yes.
Councilmember Upton.
Yes.
Councilmember Van.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Curran.
Yes.
Councilmember Literal.
Yes.
Mayor Stone.
Yes. Next, ordinance 19-06.
This is a third reading of an ordinance rezoning 1.595 acres from B-2 and A-1, further described as Book 5, Page 5, parcels 123 and 124 on the property tax maps of Greene County, Ohio.
Thank you. Councilmember Van, this is, you sponsored this ordinance. Any further?
If there's no further discussion, then I would, if there's no further questions or discussion, I would move for approval of ordinance 19-06. This is for the credit union rezoning.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 19-06. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion does carry. Next, ordinance 19-07.
This is a third reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interests owned by Carlotta Oldham for the Kemp Road Widening Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you. This again is a third reading. We've already had the public hearing. This was sponsored by Councilmember Curran. Any further discussion? Councilmember?
Move the ordinance 1907 to appropriate the right-of-way Charlotte Oldman for the Kemp Road widening project.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 19-07. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, ordinance 19-08.
This is a second reading of an ordinance providing for the submission to the electric amendments of the charter of the City of Beavercreek, Ohio, and to place the same on the ballot at the general election November 5th, 2019.
Thank you. This is the second reading of ordinance 19-08, so this is a public hearing. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to address council on this ordinance? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and this will move naturally to the third reading at our next regular scheduled meeting. Next on the agenda is ordinance 19-09.
This is a second reading of an ordinance repealing current section 31.01 reimbursement of council members for expenses of the City of Beavercreek Code of Ordinances and adopting new section 31.01 reimbursement of council members for expenses and repealing section 31.17 expenses of council of the City of Beavercreek Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. Once again, this is the second reading, so this is a public hearing. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to address council on ordinance 19-09? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and this will naturally move on to the third reading at our next regular scheduled meeting. Next, ordinance 19-10.
This is a second reading of an ordinance repealing current sections 35.17 and 35.18 of the City of Beavercreek Code of Ordinances and adopting new sections 35.17 and 35.18 of the City of Beavercreek Code of Ordinance in order to revise competitive bidding requirements.
Thank you. Again, one more time, this is a second reading, so this is a public hearing. Is there anyone present tonight that would like to address council on ordinance 19-10? Seeing none, we will let this naturally move on to its third reading at our next regular scheduled meeting. Next on the agenda, liquor permits. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have a request for new liquor permit for Club Oceano LLC. We were notified of the request for a new D2, D3 liquor permit for Club Oceano LLC, 4429 Cedar Park Drive in the Green. Records checks required by the Ohio Department of Commerce Division of Liquor Control were conducted for this request, and staff is recommending the application request move forward without comment.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept without comment for Club Oceana LLC.
Second.
I have a motion on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're moving right along here. Council time. And how about we start with Councilmember Literal tonight?
Okay. A couple things. One, again, our community has just been amazing, not to mention the staff, the workers, the volunteers, and I don't know how many times I've said it along with all of our other council members, but we have a tremendous amount of volunteers in this community, and it's just really showed. Several churches, organizations, not to single anyone out, but Be Hope, on that, the former Nazarene, it's still the Nazarene Church, but Be Hope. Several other churches have just been wonderful about organizing and the free opportunities for water and just lots of different food and shelter, and all of those have just been amazing. We've had our city manager, Pete, has put out some wonderful information about how Kroger's helped, the Melody, I mean, just people from outside the community and the trucks. I've seen them at Speedway from Westerville, Sharonville, and just Mason, and the guys and the ladies driving them are just so wonderful, you know, when you see them at Speedway. So all of that, just amazing to see the outpouring of what a true community we are. With that, just a reminder that Friday is June 14th. It's also Flag Day, time to reflect, and a lot of our flags stood through that tornado, so that was impressive. The other thing is not just, there's several areas that have been on the news, but there was also other people affected over off of Banyan and Kemp, and we all know that, but Van Oss, it was hard to get through. I was walking back in there, so all of the people back there, just tremendous people. So have that. And then we have lots of things coming up. Things keep going forward, so lots of different parks and rec opportunities that I'll let some other members speak of. But we're a great community, and just want to thank everyone for we truly are just a wonderful community, and it's why people want to live here. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Councilmember Rushing.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Councilmember Van. How was your trip?
I did have a good trip. I am really proud of our community, though, and everything that all of you have done. It's really been wonderful. I've heard from so many residents who are still in need, and we just have to keep them in our prayers and keep whatever programs we can have coming forward to help them, because it's a big deal to lose your house. It's a big deal to lose your stability, the foundation of your life. So we just have to keep reaching out and being good to them. That's it.
Councilmember Upton?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Stone. Also, just want to say thank you to our entire community, as well as our neighboring communities, for the help and support that have been given to those that are impacted. I did have a chance at the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission meeting last Thursday to kind of formally thank some of the other communities that were also present at the meeting. So hopefully word's getting out. They were all, you could see when I was thanking them that they were all appreciative of the thanks. And I hate to say that, but sometimes some of the stuff goes under the radar and people don't give out the thanks. And a number of the leaders of other communities stopped me on the way out and said, we're happy to help. We'll continue to help as much as we can, as I know our city manager has heard as well. Aside from that, I attended our party on the patio last Friday at the golf club. Very nice event. Every table was full. I thought for sure some people were going to start splitting tables with other people. But nice event, nice band. Golf course really put on a good show and really showed off just what an asset it is to the community as far as recreational use and multi-uses, not just a golf course, but an event center as well. So it was well done. Kudos to everybody there. And then also want to put a plug in for our summer concert series. The Parks Department is hitting that up right away. I think our second one is this weekend, this Sunday. So please come out to Lafino Park and hear what's going on. We got a great lineup all summer. Check out the website for what bands are coming and when. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
All right. Councilmember Curran.
Attended your first Thursday function, Mayor, where we had an opportunity again to recognize the many, many groups that have already been mentioned here today that really worked so hard to bring us through this very testing time in Beavercreek. And it was really nice to see the crowd and the response from people for that. Wanted to make another comment, and that was our tree board. I think they're going to be real busy. Tree City, we've got a few areas that have some challenges, and I'm hoping the tree board will focus more on residential, helping folks to try to bring back those yards that have some special challenges.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
Did we announce before that the Beavercreek schools had were the first in the nation for, did we get that at the last meeting? Because it was like the same day.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we announced it. And if there's a way that we could bring them in front of us to celebrate that's amazing to be first in the nation for an academic contest. So if there would be a possibility that we could bring them and give them a letter of congratulations, I think that would be a terrific thing.
I agree.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think they were the first school in the state of Ohio to obtain that award, too. It wasn't just a first for Beavercreek, it was the first school in Ohio to achieve that. So it was pretty impressive.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I don't think I can echo the gratitude and appreciation enough to our staff and our community, especially if you see on Facebook and on all the news outlets, these young student groups that have come together, the football teams that have canceled practice to come help us from Miami University, all of the student organizations here in the Beavercreek area that have helped. It's not just all the adult volunteers, it's also our younger generation, as well as the chamber that has played a huge part in helping too. So just thank you to everybody, and I know I am grateful as well as everyone else in our community.
Thank you. And again, yeah, that's on the tops of everybody's mind right now is what's been going on the last couple of weeks.
Right.
And hopefully down the road sometime we'll be able to formally recognize a lot of these groups. Because it's an endless list right now, and it's a matter of trying to compile it. But yeah, the wrestling team was out
Right.
with their coaches. Somebody called in a little small private cemetery there by Goodwill. Sunnyside. But it had a couple trees, knocked over some headstones. And just by coincidence, I saw something from the coach saying, you know, we're out, and what can we do? They went running over there after doing a lot of other things. They went a lot of places. But they went over and cleaned that up in no time at all. But, you know, just makes you feel good. You know, and the county emergency management has held several meetings, been weekly or more than weekly. You've had
2-3 times
4 or
a
5
week.
of them, yeah.
We got one tomorrow.
So that's seems to be bringing all the county agencies together on one page so that we know what we're doing, we know who's doing what, let's put it that way. So that's a big factor. You have one again tomorrow, you said? I didn't go to the last one. Jeff and I went to meet with the county. As you recall, there was a little apprehension when we were talking about creating our own CIC. So we went over and tried to discuss, you know, what our needs are and what their opportunities are. And I think we cleared the air real well so that they know what we're doing and we know a little bit about what we can do. And I'm sure Jeff will be coming forward in the next month or two and let us know what direction we're going to go on that one. But so we've cleared the air on that issue. Just a lot of things going on. And, you know, there's one thing. I know we have the T-shirts that say Beavercreek Strong. And, of course, you know, I have to myself, I had a hat with the Beavercreek emblem on it. And I just took some markers and put Beavercreek Pride. And, you know, that's one thing about this community. We're just a proud community. I mean, we're out there to help anywhere we can. So, you know, I could go on and on, but it's just a fantastic place to be. So with that, I'm going to see if the city manager has a report.
Just a couple quick things. Indian Ripple Road, beginning today, the county engineers closed the road there just east of Trinity. This closure is planned to last about 3 weeks. The bridge is located close to the intersection of Indian Ripple and Woodview East. So that's going to be a little bit lengthy of a closure by the county, but that's something needing to be done for the bridge. And people already, council members have already made note of this. It is important for us to move forward in many things. Some people, if their house is still being worked on or if it's livable, you know, take a break for a minute. You know, mentally it's going to help you, which will help you physically as well. But this June 14th, if you're in the Merritt Park area, Creekside Drive, we're having that party in your park there. And then this Sunday, as mentioned, I believe this is the third of the summer concert series. So Passion Classic Rock from the 70s and 80s at Lafino Park. So come from 7 to 8 p.m. and just enjoy yourself. Hopefully we have a little drier weather compared to maybe yesterday, but just enjoy yourself. And any other events, please check our events page on Facebook for all the parks and summer camps and things like that, and check your In Touch magazine that has all that kind of information in it as well. So thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is citizen comments. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to address council on any issue at all? Please come forward, give us your name and address, and please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, unless you have somebody that'd like to donate their time to you.
My name is Ian Crow. I live on 2121 Prudence Drive, Beavercreek, Ohio. I've talked to different people in the community, and some of them are wondering why there was no tornado warning signs. Like, you could hear some from Wright-Patterson, but there was none around here. And I feel that would be beneficial if we have some sirens for tornadoes, because Xenia has one, the base has one. Why can't we for future incidents or accidents that could come?
Well, we appreciate that input, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all the council. We will probably at least look into that, and as the time moves forward, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's something it's been discussed in years past. I don't have an answer for you other than to tell you the council will undertake another review of that, whether or not we should or shouldn't. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on. Do I have a motion for executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to enter into executive session pursuant to Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code for the purpose of consideration of the employment of a public employee or official.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to enter into executive session. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Upton?
Yes.
Councilmember Van? Vice Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Curran?
Yes.
Councilmember Literal? Councilmember Rushing? Mayor Stone?
Yes. For the audience here and abroad in the TV land, we do not expect any action to come from this executive session. However, if you wish, those in the audience, we will come back into this room to close the meeting. So you're welcome to stay. But at this particular time, we are going to enter into executive session, and I'd like to suggest we take a couple-minute break in between to see if the press has anything or what's going on there. Okay? All right, see you in executive session in just a couple minutes.